All right. Well, I think we had some trouble with that music, but we are back. This is Chris Frank Games, a video game podcast and a video game TV show. If you're watching this on your Apple TV, uh, but my name is Chris Stotts, and that's Frank White. Frank, how's it going?
It's going pretty good, except for my kids gave me a cold. But happy Sekiro Eve, everybody.
Oh yeah, security. Yeah, for a second I thought you meant like security Eve. Like, is it some sort of like Facebook security thing? Like we should know about?
Yeah, they're having us all executed.
Uh, I would not. Yeah. Do you like or not like? Dislike maybe. I don't know. But
Nick
this is
has disliked
mhm. This is a video game podcast, and we will be talking about video games. A lot of news happened this week. A lot of stuff
you.
to discuss, which we will get to very shortly. Frank, you did mention Sekiro. How do you pronounce this thing?
Sekiro.
Sekiro.
Just Sekiro.
Yeah. Did you get it, or do you have it pre-ordered, or do you have it preloaded?
It is in the mail. I'll have
Okay.
it tomorrow.
All right. Sounds good.
Or
Well,
today, depending on when you listen to this.
we will not be previewing that this week. Although I did just watch a Digital Foundry video that talked about the frame rate and all that stuff, and let's just say it's a little bit better than Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3. But yeah,
Well, it sounds like if you're playing on a regular PS4, it's pretty much on par with Bloodborne. But that's pre-day one, so everybody cross your darn fingers that we'll have some performance improving
yeah.
patches in the near future.
Just wait for the update. Just wait for the update.
It's not bad. It's above 30 on like a Pro or an Xbox One X. So
Yeah, it looked like it was like around 40 frames,
yeah,
45 or something like that.
like 40, 45. Yeah.
And
Just
actually,
a little. I mean, it's always a little disappointing when it's uneven. You know, when it's inconsistent. Like, is that for me at least? That's I guess not that the frame pacing in Bloodborne ever bugged me that much, but like I guess I would prefer a capped 30 to a variable. But hey,
Yeah.
if they can patch it back up to 60 like they said they were gonna in the first place,
Uh,
you know, then we'll all be happy campers.
yeah,
Still get to stab people.
yeah, it's just maybe they should ditch that engine, guys. You know, grab that Gorilla engine, like your homie Kajami. I'm just saying they're homies because they're Japanese. Probably never met, but it's good enough for me. And yeah, we're let's just dive right in. But I do want to say welcome to the first. I'm sorry, the Frisk Games, the Chris Frank Games Arcade that we're at right now behind us, and where all the games are 25 cents. No 50-cent games around these parts. 1/4. You do have to pay. I mean, we do have to pay the rent and the light bills.
Even the pinball? Do we have pinball?
Yep, got it back there. Just brought it in. Just came in on the truck.
Why does pinball always cost $1? I was never understood that.
Well,
Pinball's so expensive.
probably yeah. Well,
High
probably
maintenance, I guess.
yeah. A lot of repairs, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. All right.
Physical things existing in the real world.
Yeah, yeah. Frank, do you know how much a pinball repair guy costs? It's outrageous. It's crazy. I'll show you the invoice. All right. Okay. Well, let's talk about more serious subjects like the revolution of video games as we know it. Completely changed
Really happening.
this past week. And so what was it? Was it Tuesday or Monday? I can't remember when this happened. It just feels like 1,000 years ago already. But Google had their opener, what do you call it, this keynote at GDC, the Gathering of Developers Conference. And
All this news because they're all getting together, making news.
yep.
Game people.
Yeah, game people doing game things. But yeah, they did do a keynote, and they pretty much unveiled their long rumored, long known about cloud streaming gaming service. And Frank, did you watch this? by chance?
No, I just caught the details.
Yeah, actually, I have a lot of time in front of a computer at work where I'm not really have to paying attention to too much stuff. I did kind of watch this at the time, and I mean, yeah, I mean, what can you say? It's just playing games on like a Chrome browser on any sort of device. They showed a demo where they did the Assassin's Creed. They were playing on a computer from Chrome. I think it was like I think they said that, like they bought the cheapest computer they could find or whatever, and it ran it fine. Then he goes, then he goes,
Yeah, except the computer doesn't matter. It's all your internet connection.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they didn't say how much the fiber connection was, how much that cost for the building. But yeah, then he moved over to a phone, hooked up with a controller, like a Bluetooth controller, and then they went over to a tablet, and they pretty much started from where they left off the whole time. So it was the same game, pretty much. So, all right, I'll just go into the details really quick, just the notes that I have, and then we'll kind of get into our thoughts and all that stuff. And then you can actually do this on your Chromecast. So just plug this into your Chromecast. I'm sorry, into your TV, and there you go. You're playing video games on your TV just like a normal console. They got Stadia, Stadia or Stadia. I don't know.
I'm
Stadia?
assuming it's Stadia.
Yeah.
It's like stadium, but you like somebody cut off the
Yeah. I should cut off the
Sounds
ums.
like a car. Like, welcome to Google Stadia,
Hmm.
the finest ride around.
Well, it's Greek, right? Isn't Stadia Greek?
No, it's
Stadia?
something made up.
Or
Well, I mean, it's like it's
Well, that's-
based on words.
that's what a stadium is, right? Isn't that the Greek word for stadium or something? I don't know. I didn't take Greek, but
I'm sure it's from Greek, but they're just making up words and adding "ed" on the end, like a pharmacy.
yeah. So the controller looks like an ugly version of the Xbox married to the PS4 controller with the two sticks kind of at the bottom, not the Xbox way. And then it has Google Assistant built in. So you can just ask it stuff, and they give an example of you're stuck in a level on Tomb Raider. Hey Google, how do I beat this level? So there you go, cheating, Frank.
Yeah.
You basically got a built-in cheat code.
And that service is gonna hear so many swears.
Yeah, how do I kill this guy, Google? Jesus, where's this fucking gun? Yeah, so a lot of that thing, and then plus a lot of other stuff. Kind of, I don't know, for you, Frank, and for me, it may be a little bit uncomfortable. A lot of this stuff. I mean, if first of all, remember these unauthorized like cheat books that you could buy like back in the day. Now they're like handing you a way to cheat, like right in your hands. I don't know. It's not. I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
Well, you could have your phone set up with Siri. It's not like we're just removing a step here. We're not reinventing the wheel.
And using their service.
There is a lot of like interesting stuff in theory they have going on with this, like the ability to hand over control to somebody else remotely. Like, so you could be watching a stream of someone playing, and then they could be like, "Oh, and I can't." Here's your cheating. It's like back in the day when you're handing your Game Boy to your friend. Like, can you beat this boss in Zelda? Because you could just be like, hey, watch me fight Ornstein and Smaug here, and give me some tips. And then finally get frustrated, and you're like, you know what, you do it.
Yeah.
Hand you the wheel.
Yeah, the that thing, and then where you can like go into a lobby, and like kind of, or play next, like play the streamer next that you're watching. So a lot of like things like that sound kind of cool and interesting when you actually think about it, but then when you actually, would you do that? I don't know. Do I? I don't watch a streamer to play him, right? I watch a streamer because he's like way better than me, and I just watch it for entertainment. I don't know. I think it's a cool thing. It's a cool like highlight, but again, I don't think. And then like the handoff thing. I mean, is there any scenario you'd actually want to do? I mean, do you want to pick up in the middle of someone else's game? I mean, I don't know. I don't really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this thing is gonna live or die based on the exclusives that it's gonna get, and yeah. So Google, because clearly this is their first rodeo in this space, like, did not have anything like that. Like, if Google was really on board with this, I would have much more confidence in the whole operation if that they had, some kind of
Like a game to
like
show.
yeah, like a social battle royale game of some kind. Um, you know, to leverage these features that it has. Because right now they're just showing off Doom Eternal and Assassin's Creed, whatever the most recent one is, Odyssey. Uh, yeah, so it's you're not really getting to the heart of like what could be done with that, because I think that's really where this thing lives or dies, because um, I guess the only other thing I could see is if you had a game that had just absolutely redonkulous graphics and physics. You know, those are the two like selling points that this thing would have: unique features and the possibility of having something that's light years ahead of what's available even on a high-end PC. And I don't know, I don't really see that second one happening. So I think they really need to leverage the unique features. And really, at this point, we're just speculating like we are now. Like, what are the cool things you could do with this? What kind of game could you build around this that you could not have on a traditional system? And yeah, they should have figured that out already, but
Yeah.
well, maybe it's on the way.
Well, they did kind of give an example of like a 1,000-man battle royale, 1,000-person, I suppose. So I mean, you could do stuff like
Yeah.
that. I mean that because they seem like their cloud technology is like because they touted all their nodes and all this crap and then network and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're light years beyond like Microsoft or Apple. Or
Yeah. Well, yeah, you'd have the fact that for multiplayer games, like it really has to kind of be multiplayer games, because the big advantage there is that every player, you're just getting the video stream over your internet, and the control inputs, uh, which I'm sure are minimal for bandwidth. Um, so the actual like physics and gameplay and like the positioning of players is all handled centrally, or distributed amongst this cloud thing. So while people are worried about latency issues of like what how responsive is it going to be to your control inputs, it will, on the other hand, basically completely eliminate traditional lag. Like, the frustrating, like, the game decided that guy wasn't there, and, where you and your opponent, like, desynchronize basically in time and space in the game, and then the game has to make a judgment call over what it's going to decide actually happened. It basically goes the way of the dodo with this system. So
yeah, because someone has to host it right now, traditionally.
yeah.
So. Yeah, so a couple. I mean, I think that's the kind of the killer app, and I think they're kind of taking a hands-off approach in regards to. I mean, they will have a they will have a development team with Jade Raymond, who's kind of a legendary game developer. But I think their pitch, the killer app, is that you can play Doom Eternal on your fucking phone, or your shitty computer. You know what I mean? So you don't need a super powerful PC. So I think they're going to leverage these other developers to promote the games. And hey, also you can play it over here. You don't need a beefed up PC to play it.
But I don't know. I feel like just saying like a game that you can get on a PS4 at reasonable quality, like for playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Doom Eternal, I'm gonna say like it's got to be cheap at that point. Like, because that's the other thing. We'd have no pricing structure or anything, any info on that at all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I could understand if this thing costs like $50 and has a reasonable, whatever monthly fee or subscription fee or however it's going to work. Like, if the pricing is reasonable, I can see that. But it's got an uphill battle to say compete with a PS4.
Yeah. Well,
version.
what if there is no price? What if they're just gonna make money selling games, right? And it's a free service, and they make money on microtransactions. Well, right,
Like
but
you'll need to buy the controller, and then if like the Chromecast or the little dongle
yeah,
thing that's gonna.
or just use your phone that you already have or a computer. But also, I think they also said you can use any other controller. So I think you actually can use your PS4 controller on this stuff. Obviously, you can't
I'm
use the
not sure about that. Maybe with extra hardware, because the controller itself, it's kind of an interesting thing. Is the controller itself has a separate Wi-Fi connection.
yeah.
Like, so the controller does not connect to the Chromecast, which connects to Stadia. It's just you've got the screen and the phone and the controller, are both separately contacting to it. I mean, you still got your Wi-Fi and your internet as the bottlenecks. So that's the other, and that's the other big thing is
Well,
is your internet going to be fast
well,
enough?
that's the thing. I've seen just kind of these numbers float around, like saying if you want to play like a game in 1080p for like 2 hours or something like that, it's like 80 gigs or something like that, or maybe it was a 4K.
No,
I,
it's not that bad. I think I heard 20 gigs an hour,
yeah, there you
and I
go.
believe that was for 4K,
Okay.
which is still big.
Dude, that's your sometimes your limit, right? For your that's people have that plan, right?
That's going to be hitting some people's caps. So I'm almost wondering if this is another like Google attempt to shame the ISPs, because they do that every once in a while. Like with Google Fiber was basically Google, like they did not, Google had no intention of actually like becoming an ISP, but they basically started like rolling out Google Fiber, essentially just to shame ISPs into stop being so horribly stingy with bandwidth, and it had some limited success, but yeah. So this is very much something that is going to take a while to become available to
Yeah.
out on the farm.
Yeah.
Wisconsin does.
Yeah, exactly. And then I didn't actually see this video, but I think someone said that on Digital Foundry, like a 1080p video, like the most like the average internet connection, like right now, the best you can do is like 720p or something like that. So I mean, you can talk 8K, 4K, but I mean, let's talk realistic numbers. You know what I mean? So, all right, and then just some other things. We'll we'll move along here. But here's kind of an interesting the AI style they call this. So this is basically you can make your own game or have a game, and this is kind of aimed at developers. And you just kind of feed their AI system like a bunch of different images. Like they give a couple of examples, like a Starry Night, Van Gogh's Starry Night, and I don't know, some other stuff. And basically, the AI kind of creates this like system-wide kind of texture pattern color thing, and it's not kind of like realistic textures. It's kind of this dreamy, kind of fantasy kind of style. So pretty interesting. But I see
kind of the Deep Dream system, sort of.
yeah. But then I see that and it's like, oh my god, what do you think the artists? What do they see? On, when they see something like that? I mean, kind of a little disturbing. On that, did you check that out? Did you see that at all?
No, I didn't see anything about that stuff. No.
Definitely an interesting like style, but I mean, if you're gonna take all that time, I mean, I guess those for like really cheap developers who just cannot pay for art, I suppose. So, all right.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of guys out there on Steam who are just buying the cheapest stuff on like the Unity Asset Store anyway. So
yeah. All right, so it's gonna be launching in 2019, and yeah, again, no pricing, no information about like the cut, what the developers cut and all that stuff. But that is definitely coming. So, yeah. All right, and then I guess yeah, you did say Doom Eternal is being demoed there. I think I've heard that there is a little bit of lag, so I don't think the stuff is perfect yet. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it's never going to be 100%. Like the Digital Foundry guys were kind of looking into that, and I saw some numbers. It's like 0.1, or it's like 16 milliseconds or something. I don't remember, but it's something that's always going to be there. But on the other hand, like a lot of TVs aren't like you don't have game mode on your TV, you might not have that good of response time anyway. So yeah, I looked into that, and that actually seems like less of an issue than I originally assumed. Because I mean, I guess if your connection is is solid. It's basically it's within tolerances. Uh, so I don't think it's going to be noticeably more sluggish. I mean, we'll see if like fighting games and stuff can do it, but then again, for online stuff, the gains for internet lag, you're gaining enough there to probably offset any input lag you might have due to latency. So yeah, that was something I was really skeptical about at first, and that's actually way down on my list now. Uh, I'm still very skeptical.
All right. Trust but verify, right? That's what we're supposed to do. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you got something that runs Chrome, you should be able to check it out. So, I think we'll see all this stuff pretty quick.
Well, and I guess this is one final, word of warning on the whole thing is just the, is this Google wanting to be the next EA? I was making jokes about this earlier. It was like, did Google look at EA's kill list and get jealous of like, they've been killing more, businesses and services and stuff than we are. So yeah, everyone's very kind of mistrustful at this point of like, are you sure you want to buy a bunch of games from a Google service, considering Google really likes to shut things down? Like, I gotta switch my phone mail app here in a couple days because they're just like, we're not doing it anymore. Change it.
Google Phone? They're not stopping Google Phone, are they? Or is it?
No, it's whatever. I can't remember which one it is. Like I have a Gmail specific like app on my iPhone that I use for mail, and it's becoming obsolete, and I got to change it to a different one now because they're not supporting this one anymore. So it's just like, and I like this one, and I don't want to have to like get used to a different interface just because Google doesn't want to support this, and they got rid of RSS and all that. Like
RSS rid.
Yeah. So yeah, if you have any like worries about buying things digitally, this is definitely something to steer clear of because you're not getting a physical copy of Doom Eternal from Google.
Yeah, and then Jeff Grossman on the Giant Bombcast was actually he's already kind of a negative Nancy already, but he was definitely like sounding the warning bells, saying, "Do we really want to hand this over to Google? Is that what we want to do?" So, I mean, we'll see what's up. It doesn't mean that they're gonna win. I mean, again, people still like to have stuff, on their hard drive at home. So, for these kids though, these kids are not gonna care. That's the problem, Frank, is these goddamn kids that don't know any better. It's like, no, you trust me. Yeah. You want to have a game system.
I'm just imagining myself yelling at my kids in 10 years of like, stop using all the bandwidth. Just download the game for 150 gigs overnight and have it. Stop playing. It's 20 gigs an hour, kids.
Or when all their games get deleted and be like, I told you, don't trust those digital storefronts.
Yeah.
Daddy warned you. He warned you. Just like
Daddy's gonna go play his Super Nintendo now. No one can take that away from him.
Yeah. Yep. All right, you sound like a Second Amendment. Pride from your cold dead hands.
Take my 16-bit console out of my cold dead hands.
How about the what are we up to? 26 amendments. Video games must be on your living room floor. Yeah. How about that? All right, and then some other news. Nintendo had a Nindies. They call these Nindies. These are independent games featured coming out on Switch. So they kind of had their one for spring this year. And we're not going to go through all of this, but kind of the biggest news, and they led off with this right away. And I was actually pretty shocked. I don't get shocked anymore these days, Frank. But I was shocked about this. Cuphead coming to Switch. Kind of shocking. No, Frank, you did play Cuphead, right? You had this on the PC?
I have not. It's okay. It's,
I thought you got this. Okay.
I guess I could play it on the computer, but I really like it. It feels like a TV game to me, and I don't have an Xbox or Switch, so.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Another Frank. We keep on coming up with reasons why you should get a Switch every single week. I think you're gonna have to bite the bullet here sometime. All right, but yeah, Cuphead the Switch, and actually during the kind of commercial slash whatever presentation, the guy actually said thanks to our friends at Microsoft. So yeah, I guess Microsoft owns this IP. I mean, I'm not sure how the deal works, but they're the publisher, I guess. So Microsoft is bringing a game to the Switch, and I gotta say that it seems like a perfect match for the Switch. It looks great. I really thought about getting it. It's still only $20. I mean, I could definitely see people paying $40 for that. Was it 40 when it came out? No, it was 20, right? When it came out?
20 or 30. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was 20. And however, then I was reminded, oh yeah, this is not kind of a traditional platform. It's more like a bullet hell kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know.
That's the other thing is, yeah, it's really as I'm kind of bummed that I don't get to play it but I like after it came out, I was like, oh, there's definitely a tension here between how pretty it is and how little attention I will be paying to how pretty it is while I am desperately trying not to die for the 50th time.
Dodging perfectly rendered carrots, animated carrots. Yeah. So anyways, coming April 18th. So that is, get your tax refund and buy it, I suppose. All right, and then another couple notes here. New Blaster Master. So this is kind of a retro make. It's $10. I should get this. I never really played the original Blaster Master for the NES, and I'm sure they updated it with like better controls and all that stuff. So Blaster Master, it's like 2 Neo or something like that. But that was definitely pretty cool. And they even have the side scrolling or the shooting parts of it, and they kind of updated that stuff to it too. You know, where you're like the character and doing all this stuff. Yeah. Frankie, have you played Blaster Master, Frank, at all?
I might have played it at a friend's house 25 years ago.
Yeah. Well, there's sections where you're like playing like Zelda a little bit, like the original Zelda, if shooting stuff. But so that's in there too. Anyways, that's pretty cool. All right, and then speaking of Zelda, another kind of a surprise, Candace of Hyrule featuring The Legend of Zelda. Now, I'm not really familiar with this game. Maybe it's what is this? Katrina? No, it's not Katrina. It's fucking something. It's like a rogue game. And it was the indie developer that made that. And I guess they're kind of bringing over the same characters. And it looks like a Link to the Past is world. And you can play as Zelda or Link. And it seems kind of like a rogue game, kind of like
it's a third-party Zelda game. Yeah, which would be like super mind-blowing if they hadn't had Metroid Prime years ago. But yeah, so we know they can do it. I guess, and they have the Dynasty Warriors whatever Zelda thing. So yeah, I guess it's not that brand spanking new that they would hand Zelda off to a third party.
What is kind of shocking that it is Zelda. I mean, that is kind of their number one franchise too, I guess. So, especially like an indie developer. I mean, they can't have more than 15 people, right? I guess working there or something like that. So, but it must be one of those things where they saw the original game, and I was like, wow, you know what would be really good? Link to the Past combat in kind of this sort of world. So. I'm trying to find the name of this group really quick. I hate. Crypt of the Necro Dancer. I don't know. Brace Yourself Games, the team behind the cult hit Crypt of the Necro Dancer.
I think that's on sale on the PlayStation Network right now.
Yeah, I think they put it on sale.
Buy yourself some cheap Crypt of the Necro Dancer.
Yep, I guess it's a big game. All right, and then so there we go. That's kind of the Nindies stuff. But we do have some breaking news. I literally saw this like 2 hours ago. But Nintendo showed off more of their Labo VR actual gameplay. And Game Explained kind of did an hour-long kind of chat because they got to go to one of those events and see it and all that stuff. And, Frank, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. What they didn't show any games off or anything like that. What was this going to be? Mini games. Lots of mini games, Frank. Lots of mini games. So
there you go.
Yep. So I actually kind of saw this stuff and not very excited after seeing it, and I kind of understand why they didn't show it earlier. It just kind of looks like these generic mini games that look good quality and all that stuff good, but like, yeah, I don't, I've been, but I mean, Sports Resort was like fun, like Wii Sports. it is fun to have like with people and everything. But you know, I don't know if I want to do any of that stuff more than once by myself, especially this VR stuff. And then also like there's no you have to hold this thing to your face. Like how long before that gets like super super old? You know, there's no like attachment to your head or anything like that. So I don't think it's gonna work that well.
When your face oils, you're gonna get on the cardboard.
Yeah,
and
it's gonna look like a pizza
moist
box.
breath. Yeah.
Yeah. But there are some kind of interesting things there. There's the elephant attachment. That's actually used as a 3D like art kind of creator, almost like a Mario Paint, but in 3D. And maybe you've seen those Microsoft lenses, HoloLens things, where they're like kind of making like art in 3D. Very similar to that, but it seems like way easier, way more initiative. And then yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty not excited about this now, and actually, I don't think I'm gonna buy it. The Game Explain guys did say it's definitely one step up from like cell phone VR, but it's not PS VR at all, and what it's not even trying to be. But they did say it you don't really see that the screen door effect. Like it's actually a pretty good effect, and it's actually because the screen's like right in your face, and it's fairly big. It really feels like immersive that they were saying. And another kind of interesting aspect to it is that they have these like programming, like these simplified programming kind of things you can do, so you can kind of make your own games. And I think they're going really far deep into this stuff. They showed a couple demos of stuff you can do yourself, and I can definitely see, this definitely not for everyone, but I can definitely see just giving this to your kid and let them just go wild, making their own games and stuff like that, and learning logic and all that stuff. So that to me is like the more interesting thing. Not that I would do any of that stuff, but like maybe as a kid, like if I was 7, I might have fucked around with that stuff,
Unleash your inner 7-year-old already.
Yeah, he's trying to sleep. Okay, he's trying to take a nap. And then some of that camera stuff. I mean, it is kind of like interesting. It's not just like this cardboard that you put on your face, but like the camera has like these controls, so you spin around the lens to like zoom in. And then the Canon has like, you pull down levers and stuff like that to like affect gameplay, like enter bullet time. So it's really kind of interesting, like tactile, feedback and controls and all that stuff. So definitely pretty interesting. But yeah, I may wait for drop down until like $20 or something like that before I get that. But but come on, what people really want is they want to be able to play Mario and Zelda and Yoshi's Island in 3D. So, but that I don't think you can do that because again, you have to hold this in your hand. So how are you gonna hold another controller? I mean, you gotta make it super simple, I guess.
First person Mario.
Yeah, exactly.
First person Mario Endless Runner.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on a little bit, and not a little bit, a whole bunch. Oh, wrong way. All right, and then really quick, we just kind of have like a spattering of news, but. Turtle Rock Studios, who did Left 4 Dead, I thought they were owned by Valve. Do they break away, or do they? Maybe the creators.
Who knows? It's been so damn long.
Yeah, I don't know. But basically, they're making a new game called Back 4 Blood, which seems like it's just a successor to Left 4 Dead. I don't know. I this is one of those games I rented on GameFly at the time back in the day, and yeah, it's fun and all that stuff. But I mean, could people play that thing? Like, I don't know. Did you play that a lot? Did you play it at all?
Oh yeah,
back in the day.
Yeah, no, we played the hell out of Left 4 Dead.
Oh really? Okay.
Too. Mainly because it had split screen. Like it was kind of the last gasp of like having a fun like cooperative split screen shooter. Yeah. So.
That's cool. I never knew that.
Yeah, that was a big draw. So and we don't know anything about this new one. So other than that, it exists.
Yeah.
So that'll be the deciding factor right there.
Warner Brothers is publishing it. And
we used to play quite a bit of Left 4 Dead.
Nice.
Not so much the PvP mode, but
yeah,
it was all
I
right.
think I tried that once. The player versus player. It wasn't that great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to. It's got a steep learning curve because like. If you don't know what you're doing, the other team's just gonna like absolutely destroy you.
Yeah, you gotta learn those zombie moves. So, all right, let's move on a little bit. And Frank, as the reporter on the No Man's Sky beat, I'll let
Oh.
you do a lot of the talking here, but No Man's Sky has more surprises for everyone. They're gonna have a multiplayer update in the near future. Frank, what do we know? What do we know about this? What do you
Not
know
a
about
lot. We know that they have three updates that are being rolled out together. So why that's not just one, I don't know. But it's No Man's Sky Beyond, and all we know right now is that one of these three updates is expanded multiplayer. Not an MMO. They stressed that, they're not going full MMO, but yeah, presumably it's just going to continue fleshing out the online stuff that we already have. As you know, the game has now reached the point where you can just play 2-player and say hi and play together. And so I don't know this. What I am expecting out of that is that there's gonna be they're gonna be introducing multiplayer modes. Because we already technically have the ability to set up races. You can build race courses, and that's actually been a feature in the game for a while, but not a widely used one. Because it actually predated multiplayer. You could build a race course, and then someone could fly hours and hours over to your system and play it while you watched as a spark of energy. So that's, we really don't know much of anything. The trailer is 2 seconds of a larger space station than we currently have. But yeah, that's my speculation, is that there's going to be more traditional multiplayer modes, races, possibly a death match, things that you can set up, and then I'm assuming there's going to be factions, so that they'll have super duper light EVE Online stuff, that there'll be basically teams that you can join up with, that could be friendly or hostile with other teams, and maybe you're taking territory across the galactic map from each other. But again, this is all just speculation, and who knows what those other two things are. They've already but at this point, they're putting stuff out faster than I can play it, because I'm still super behind. I haven't made my underwater base. I haven't even touched the submarine you can make now. I really I don't feel like I got a good handle on No Man's Sky Next at all. I played the crap out of the game in its first couple of iterations. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna kind of hold off. I think I got stuff coming up here with Sekiro, so it'll be a good time to jump back in, I think.
Yeah, it's a young man game. It's a young man game. Young man's game. No Man's Sky. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I wonder how many copies this thing is selling a month. Are people still buying this? And
yeah, well, I mean, I think when Next came out, they breached the top 10 on Steam.
Oh, really?
For a while. I don't know how long, but it was up there.
God, they probably sold over 5 million on the PS4. You gotta think, right?
Yeah. Well, they sold a ton, off the bat, and back when people hated the game, plenty of people did not actually bother to return their copies.
Yeah.
So, that initial hype backlash has basically just funded the creation of the for real game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it continues to grow, and clearly they're having fun with it now, and making the stuff they want to make, and I'm pretty curious to see what it turns into.
Well, they were talking about Destiny was going to be a 10-year game. This will be a 10-year game for sure. I mean, we're already it's been out for 2 years now, or 3 years? Is this gonna be the third year it's been out?
Yeah, 2016. So
Yeah, good lord.
yeah, man, if like I remember, and then like the game had kind of a long development cycle because it was a small team. I remember being super duper hyped about No Man's Sky like E3 2014.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been like 5 years now.
It's been a while. All right, oh, there you go. No Man's Sky. There we go. All right, and then we'll just a couple of quick hits with the news here. Yes, Sekiro is out, and by the way, IGN gave it a 9.5. Make what you will of that. So it's probably really a 8. I'm assuming.
Well, it's
chop off
I haven't checked tonight, but when the first round of reviews went up, I looked at the Metacritic, and at the time, every platform was above 90. So,
jeez,
and I haven't seen I have not seen a score less than an 8. That could have changed by now, or probably will change by tomorrow. But it was funny, like seeing how Metacritic has the like unscored things and like the reviews in progress down below. It was amazing how long that page was. Like there wasn't a ton of like actual scored reviews, and then you could just keep scrolling down, and there's all the gray ones. But yeah, so I've not heard a whole lot in the way of criticism. Even with the technical stuff that the Digital Foundry guys were pointing out, like I probably wouldn't have even heard about that if it hadn't been for Digital Foundry. So
yeah, I mean,
so yeah, it's kind of like, but I think everyone knows what they're getting into at this point, because yeah, so I can still imagine people bouncing, way hard off of this due to the difficulty, but yeah, I think people know what to expect from Software game at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. For these big AAA releases, I mean, haven't we seen the same thing? Like it gets way overrated, and then yeah, it's actually kind of a lot of big not big problems, but just kind of annoying problems. Probably doesn't deserve it, but again, we'll see, and you'll tell us for sure.
Well, and yeah, it's also just like the people who are curious and are not familiar with like Miyazaki Soulsborne games. Yeah, so there's definitely going to be people who climb on the hype train and are like, well, this is not for me at all. Which isn't necessarily a knock on the game. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But I know it's hard to look at, like, I know a lot of people struggle with like how much oxygen the Souls like ecosystem eats up in the game's media, and like you get the FOMO and then you try it and you're like, no, this is hella not for me. But
yeah, that was my experience with Bloodborne, and yeah, I did see because I remember the trailer way back when they showed this off. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I may actually check that out. But then I saw like some guy was fighting someone, and it looked just like a Bloodborne battle where you're like dashing, and then I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
It's actually significantly more complicated now.
Yeah, because you got verticality, right, with your grappling hook.
Yeah, and with the posture system, instead of stamina, like you can attack basically unlimitedly, but you've got this system of wearing the other guy's posture down to kind of break through their defenses while protecting your own. And so that's like basically it's almost like a second health bar on top of that, because if you knock an enemies all the way down, you can death blow them. So you could conceivably like take out, we're going to see some crazy, like in a couple months, there's going to be just insane videos on YouTube of people defeating bosses without ever actually striking them, stuff like that. So, but yeah, the fact that like you can block, parry, dodge, or jump over attacks now versus, so. But on the other hand, it's got traditional tutorials, and like in a lot of ways, it's a more normal game than a Souls game. Because I remember that was one of your big problems with Bloodborne, is I think you totally missed the not even like the tutorials, which are just like some light instructions that are on the ground in the kind of hub area that you can just miss entirely. I seem to recall that
Oh
you
yeah, yeah.
did.
I was like, why don't they tell you how to play this game?
Yeah.
This game's
So
hard to
now,
sell, but
but
they don't
now
tell
it's
you how to play it.
actually like a game where, you know, the first time something happens, like because the action can be paused. There's no multiplayer components anymore, so the game can actually pause and have a full like screen thing come up and explain the mechanic to you. Um, so yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, because it's harder, I guess, but more accessible. So
Yep.
we'll see what that does to people.
Yep. All right, we will be talking about that next week. So there's a little teaser for
Probably
you.
in depth.
Yep. All right. We're getting a little late here. Let's keep on moving. All right, and then so Firestorm, Battlefield 5's Battle Royale first gameplay was showing off this morning as we record this on Thursday, and basically they had a bunch of YouTubers go out and play the game, and then they showed the footage off. The NDA lifted today, and the embargo, I guess, whatever. So I just really quick visual thoughts on this is that I mean it looks like a Battlefield Battle Royale. So, but with a lot of vehicles, and so a lot of people were worried that these vehicles would be overpowered because in the regular Battlefield game, if you're good with a tank, you can kind of dominate. But apparently, there's a lot of anti-tank weapons around, so and a lot of anti-vehicles. So people were saying, yeah, they had a lot of fun. I mean, everyone had not complaints, but like minor quibbles, I guess you could say. But yeah, it comes out on Monday, so I've been looking forward to that for a long time. So it'd be nice to play a Battle Royale with a good frame rate. It's fairly realistic. I mean, Apex Legends is fun, but I don't like the movement and all that stuff. It's too fake, too fake. All right, there you go. All right, and then Call of Duty announced that they're going mobile. There's going to be a mobile Call of Duty game, and it looks like it's going to have all the most popular like levels, like Nuketown and all this stuff. That's the only one I really remember. And so it's going to give you a mobile experience, and they're partnering with Tencent. So, but doesn't King? Don't they own part of King? Doesn't Activision own part of? I don't know. By the way, doesn't everyone making games with Tencent? Isn't this like a anti-competition or something like that? Everyone's working on each other's games. How does this work? I don't know.
I don't know. It's like I'm surprised that Trump isn't getting involved here. Too many of our game developers are going to China.
Yeah,
working with Chinese.
Build a beautiful development studio here, right here in Michigan. Yeah, I think this is kind of, I don't know, this kind of came out with like little fanfare, but I mean, to me, this just kind of seems like an obvious move. I mean, look at all these mobile first-person shooter games that are doing really well, like PUBG mobile and Fortnite, although that's like third-person, obviously. But yeah, it's like almost like this people didn't really care that much about this, and it may only be coming on China first, so maybe that's why. But like I don't really think anyone even mentioned this. I got it from like a guy who covers like the Asian markets. So Swing EX. So and it seems like they're gonna have Blackout available on it pretty quick. So it's gonna make a shit ton of money. I'm sure about it. All right, and then System Shock 3 will be a game coming near you, and I believe what's this guy's name? Is it Ed Warren or who's the guy that? What's this guy's freaking name? I don't know. The guy who I think was part of System Shock 2. He's kind of like a legendary Warren something. I don't know. This is a nice news story, huh?
The guy who's not Ken Levine.
Yeah. Yeah. So System Shock 3. Frank, did you see this at all or hear about this?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a teaser trailer of like, well, there's Shodan. It's back. Okay, hope it's good.
Now you played System Shock 2, right?
Yeah, I was a big fan of System Shock.
Okay, I have not played that, although I know it's one of the best games of all time. I've not played it. I thought about this when I was like looking over the stories. If they should just do this in that retro, like kind of fake 3D, like polygon style. Even though it was 3D, but like that really lo-fi.
Well, they're already like that's kind of stepping on the toes of the System Shock 1 remaster that is under construction as well from Night Dive Studios.
Okay.
Which is they're doing this kind of interesting thing where it's like the original like game's geometry with like just crazy lighting effects and like bump mapping and stuff. So it has this weird like old school, new school hybrid thing going on.
I would check that out. I love that style. I love that shit. I think it looks great. All right, and then here's another news tidbit: the Konami collection will be coming out in 3 stages. There's gonna be the arcade classics like Gradius and all that stuff. I don't really care that much about that.
I got a main cabinet. I don't need this shit.
Yeah. And then here we go. Contra. There's gonna be a Contra collection, but I don't believe the Contra for the NES is on there, right? I think it's just Super C. Am I wrong about that? Because it says Contra Arcade, but then there's like another Contra Arcade that it says. So I don't know. Is that the NES? I'm not sure about that.
Well, the NES one is technically a port of the original arcade game. So.
Yeah. So it was a little bit confusing from the press release that I read. And the Super C. I mean that'd probably be a pretty like a Contra collection. I think that'd be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And then a Castlevania collection, which has all the NES games plus Castlevania 4, the Super Nintendo one, and then I think a couple others. Like was there like a Genesis? I'm not sure about that, but
it's really and it's getting confusing because they already did the Castlevania like Symphony of the Night and I want to say Rondo of Blood like double pack recently. So it's like, come on, Konami, just dump it all into a pile and charge $40.
Yeah,
it's the Konami Everything Pack.
How about your Konami subscription package? Huh? Play all those old games, $10 a month. How about that?
Hey, Konami, how about make some new games? No, Metal Gear Survive doesn't count.
Go. Have you been to Vegas lately, Frank? All right, Frank. Are you interested in any of those discs?
Yeah, not really.
Maybe Contra for like $10, but not. I mean, no, I'm not gonna pay $20 for that shit. If you want to play a good Castlevania game, just play Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon, right? Even though I haven't played that.
It's you're not wrong. And it's like I've already got like Symphony of the Night. Like I think on my, I have that on the Xbox 360, and it's like, oh no, I don't have it on PS4. Well, it's a PS1 game. It's gonna look fine on an Xbox 360.
Yeah. I don't think they up-res the tech. Well, maybe they did 4K, but I don't know. Who knows? Oh right. All right, let's move on. Now here's a story from the internet that someone kind of did a Twitter thread about Axiom Verge, which talking about old NES kind of remakes.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was probably one of my games of my year last year, even though it came out 5 years ago. But here's kind of a weird story. So this company called Badlands, which I guess is a Spanish publisher, they signed a contract, or they went to agreement to do a physical release of Axiom Verge with Ian Happ, who made the game. And there's a couple of issues. They seem to have cash flow problems, and they actually asked Happ to put money down for like the cartridges to be made or the discs to be made or whatever. And they kind of changed the terms on them for that, so that they would put up proceeds of the profit towards his like a foundation for like some sort of childhood disease that his child has.
Yeah, he's
like
got some kind of special needs kid. Yeah. I don't know the details.
Yeah. So basically, they wired the money and all that stuff, and shock of all shocks. Like they pretty much screwed him out of $250,000. It sounds like, so. That's the number that kind of floating around.
Well, I think they just went radio silent.
Or
they just like stopped taking his calls, and so he had to get the law involved, and so now they're claiming that they're like we're totally good for it. We just didn't have it on us.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the weird side effect of all of this is that Limited Run Games is right now taking, I don't know if right now, this week, taking orders for the Wii U.
Yeah, the Wii U
version of Axiom Verge.
Oh, yeah. So that might
be. You still got your Wii U, guys.
That may be the last Wii U game ever released. Who knows? Yeah, so can't imagine there's a whole ton of people dying to get that game, but there's definitely like collectors that want to get every single game for a system, especially the
Well,
physical
yeah, I
ones.
mean,
So
there's like I think limited run games like basically kind of survives on the weirdos who buy literally everything they put out
yeah,
because they number them like the Criterion Collection. So there's like guys who have like want to get the whole thing.
oh yeah,
I can't like I can't even imagine that, but it's got to be a thing.
yeah. Oh yeah, well, I mean, if you go to like these video game like Heavy Metal Jesus or something like, or Metal Jesus, I follow that guy. He like he has these other guys on there, and they're all about getting every single game ever released for the Game Boy or the Super Nintendo or like the Genesis or like whatever. It's like what you guys are buying plastic. You're buying plastic, fellas. All right. Okay, so that was kind of an interesting story. And then, all right, let's finish this off with some YouTube recommendations. Speaking of YouTube, Mark Brown, who does a lot of interesting game makers toolkits. He does a series called Boss Key, where he basically looked at Zelda dungeons throughout the game series. Now he's moved on to Metroidvanias, and he did Metroid Prime, the GameCube first-person Metroid game that kind of blew everyone away. And I was, he said it was a great game and all that stuff, but he was actually a little critical. And he was actually saying that, and this is just kind of my notes from his video. He says that later in the game, when you get power-ups, you basically have to backtrack a lot. And he says there's actually a lot of places you have to go that really are not necessary. And I don't actually remember that too much. I actually remember that the game was actually very well designed because it always seemed to dump you into where you needed to go next. Now, I mean, the game's 20 years old now almost, or 15 years old, so I haven't gone back to play it in a while. But I was actually kind of surprised by like how, I mean, whatever, he's a critic, right? He's supposed to be critical, but I don't know. Frank, did you, I'm guessing you probably didn't get a chance to see this, huh? At all?
Not familiar.
Yeah, but also I would also kind of argue that they really had a rush to get this game shipped. I mean, they had to start over at one point, so I'm sure that the game's design is probably not 100% perfect because they had to ship the goddamn thing. You know what I mean? So, and he's going to look
what
at
game is.
Yeah, exactly. But he is going to be looking at Metroid Prime 2 next time. And it'll actually be pretty funny if he actually says it's actually the better game when everyone kind of agrees that that's kind of the shittier game and the less fun game. So we'll see that, what happens with that. All right, and then speaking of Digital Foundry, John Lenneman, who does the retro series on there, took a look at Killzone 2 for the PlayStation 3. Now, Frank, I didn't have a PlayStation 3. I know you did. Did you get to experience Killzone 2?
Yeah, I borrowed it from a friend at one point and played it.
Okay, so he talked about like kind of the infamous E3 kind of render that they did of the game, which was nowhere near.
You know what's really weird? In retrospect, the game itself to me looks better, like because it's got better art design. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, yeah, I guess technically they're doing a lot of things in this trailer that like the game itself would not be able to do. But yeah, when you like compare it to the footage of the actual game, you're like, oh, actually, that looks better.
Yeah, well, the lighting, the stuff that they're doing, the lighting, he really points us out. They have a really amazing lighting system in the game, and I was actually like looking at the footage because again, I didn't have a PS3, I never really played this game. Like it looks very current. It looks actually really good. Like I could definitely see like a game like that being on the PS4 and be like, wow, this game still looks really good. He did mention though that it has really bad control lag, and I'm not sure. Oh no, it's because it is because the lighting is really crazy, and that the CPU is doing so many calculations that it's actually putting lag on the controls. So I guess that was like a big thing on that game, is that there's lag.
Yeah, they had to do like a lot of passes for this stuff. But yeah, but then it's got all kinds of stuff that like is not even like super common to this day, like muzzle flash shadows, real-time muzzle flash shadows.
Yeah.
So
yes,
this is a fun. I remember like that was actually I was watching my friends who play it. It was the guy I borrowed it from later. And he was showing it to me, and he was going down a corner, and he got the drop on an approaching enemy because he could see the guy's shadow like coming under the door.
Oh yeah.
and like that was kind of like the first. That was a first for us of like, actually like getting tactical information from the lighting system, and like being able to see like the shadow of the guy's legs like approaching, and you're like, oh, I better start shooting when I turn around this corner.
Oh, that's like a classic oh shit moment for video games.
Yeah.
And to me that's kind of the appeal about video games. For us old timers, like just seeing the evolution of like the technology. I think that's what's interesting, and that's why I like video games. That's always the interesting part about it. All right, okay, so that's all the news I had from my side. Frank, did you have anything for us?
Not really.
All right. Well,
No,
great.
not enough to slow the show down even
All right.
further.
All right, we're already at an hour, so I think we can move on. All right, so we will take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the games we've been playing. All right, I'm not gonna play music. All right.
No music for me.
Yeah. All set. Okay. Would you have? Oh, okay. That's right. We're still doing this show. All right. Give me 2 seconds. Let me just reset here, and I will be here. Go here.
I can go pretty quick.
Yeah,
I got 2 things though.
I don't have too much. I'll go quick. All right. Okay. All right. We are back. Thanks for staying with us. And I'm still waiting for Firestorm. Definitely be talking about that next week. The Battlefield Battle Royale. But just really quick. So we're talking about the PS4 remote app for like the iPhone. And it was like late one night, and my friend was playing PUBG, and he wasn't online at that time. And I was like, well, you know what? Maybe it would be nice if I like played PUBG in bed, like before I went to bed or something like that. So I downloaded this app, and I tried this out, and the whole thing about this though is that it's just basically your PS4 still turns on. It's like it has to be on. You hear the fan going and all this crap. It's basically just the PS4 is on. It's just taking that video image and transferring it over the internet.
Yeah.
I am a scientist, by the way. No, but yeah, no. And then you have these touch controls, and I did not use like a Mi-Fi or any of these other controllers. So I tried using the touch controls, and I don't know what's up with these kids, Frank, these days, but like you can't play. I cannot play with these goddamn touch controls. Especially with a first-person shooter where you need to pull the trigger to like zoom in and stuff. Because it just is not because there's no trigger. There's no trigger. It's the 2 buttons on the screen, and it just does not. I don't know. I'm too used to the PS4.
Yeah, I'm long since like being like. There's no way I'm ever gonna understand how the kids play Fortnite on their phones. Like that's just like too old.
Yep.
Done. Not even gonna try.
And then trying to move like a virtual stick for your camera. I don't know if it wasn't calibrated correctly, but it's just no. There's no way. There's no way. I need some.
Yeah, it's just and like a shooter is so complicated as far as the number of buttons you need to be pressing at the same time.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you're doing it with just 2 thumbs now.
Yep.
Like because before you got your fingers and your thumbs, and if you're doing the claw, then you got like 6 fingers going at once.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah, I really do not know who's using this. Like, is anyone using this thing, and are they enjoying it? So this seems like something that you just do just to kind of advertise it. But I mean, people had to have spent weeks doing this. So why would you even spend money paying someone to do this?
The only I'm trying to remember what like I've used the computer app before to like just stream the PS4 to my Mac, to my iMac. And I've done that for things like making sure a game was downloading. So I'm mostly like using the UI while like my wife is watching the TV and I don't want to interrupt or something.
Yeah.
So I'll just like go over there and turn the PlayStation on with my foot and connect it with the computer, and then But I've never really like played a game that way.
Like, especially like in a hotel or like away from your house, right? I mean, is anyone actually doing this?
And it's like just in the other room. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who is doing this? Like, please email us or tweet us or something. Who is using this fucking thing? I have no idea. And they're setting this up to compete with Microsoft when they release their Xbox Live on any device. But again, who wants to play Gears of War with a fucking touch? Who wants to play Halo on a touch screen? I mean, Who wants this shit? I don't
Kids,
know.
I
All right,
guess. I
I
don't
guess.
know. Who knows? Nobody.
Yep.
Everybody.
Fucking kids. All right, Frank, your playlist.
Um. So yeah, won't get into the TMI here, but I was laid up for a couple days last week.
Everything's
And
fine though. Don't make people freak out. Everything's good, right?
yeah, no, it's outpatient procedure. Just just one of those like stay off your feet for a couple days. And I thought I was gonna, and it was a lot. It was a lot less painful than I anticipated. So like, I had been planning on just watching movies. Like had like a stack of like, here's the movies I can watch while on pain pills, and
Willy Wonka
and
and the
it
Chocolate
ended
Factory.
up really not being necessary. And so um, there's a sale going on, so I picked up, and I had like $2-3 left in my PlayStation wallet. So I ended up getting Burnout Paradise, the remaster, because I played a bunch of that on the 360. I actually still have my copy because it's common enough that like the game store didn't want it. I'm like, you can't even give me $1.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, I don't need it anymore. I'm gonna play that remaster at some point. And so it's like $5. So I think it still is. If anyone wants to play 2 player. But yeah, so getting back into that, which so that's a 2008 open world Burnout game, which is a pretty cool system of like you just can like fart around in the open world and go from place to place, and then every intersection is the start of a race. So you can just pull up to an intersection and hold down brake and accelerate at the same time to initiate the race. Um, and then otherwise you're just exploring and like finding shortcuts and stuff. And it's a really like neat way of doing it. It's actually one of my favorite kind of open world games because it's a racing game, so it's all traversal. So like when you're just farting around the open world, you're basically doing the same gameplay as you would be doing in a race, just with less at stake. And they do a pretty good job of like filling out kind of side activities. But it's got to be one of my favorite non like Mario Kart racing games because it's got really like goofy physics, and a focus on wrecking up other cars. Like so, every car has their. You don't even see handling as a stat. Like the only stats the cars have are like acceleration, boost, and toughness. And then the other main factor is the kind of boost they have. Like stunt cars get boost by stunts, and aggression cars get stunts by wrecking up other cars, and then like speed cars, it's like a whole complicated thing I won't get into with the burnouts. But yeah, so it's just a lot of fun smashing up your opponents, and like I haven't played it much online, so I don't know how if it does any rubber banding for players, but like it rubber bands the hell out of the AI. Where so it's never like GTA where like you crash and then you're just out of the race. Like you can crash quite a bit and still be competitive, and the actual AI racers stay pretty clustered together. And there's other game modes like smashing up, like trying to smash up a number of cars, like within a time limit without being smashed up too many times yourself. It's fun stuff. It's it's nice to like hop into for a little bit. It gets a little stale if you've been playing it for like an hour, but it's good for quick hits. And it's got all the DLC, so it's got a bunch of stuff that like I never had on the 360 version, including like you can kind of cheat by if you go to the Legendary Cars DLC, and because you don't have to unlock any of those, they're just since they're DLC, they're just available to you at the beginning, so you can get like really powerful high stat cars. Like in the Legendary Cars, there's like a knockoff of Kit from Knight Rider. That has like crazy good stats, so you can just like wreck up the early game. Like, yeah, I'm not using any of these like low end cars from the beginning. I'm just gonna absolutely dominate the AI. But the problem is that I'm sitting kind of off to the side in my comfy chair while I'm laid up. And Burnout is a very fast game, and you have to be looking like off into the distance to like make sure you're not about to crash into something. So it was really not viable to play while I was laying back in the recliner recovering. So I tried to find something slower paced. So I switched over to the Talos Principle, which was a PlayStation Plus game a while back.
So this is basically kind of like a Myst with gameplay, right? Kind of a little bit.
It's actually, I would say its closest analog would be Portal. It's Portal without that big central mechanic of the portal gun, because it's a lot of like physics. It's first person, and it's a lot of like physics-based puzzles, and it's a lot of it revolves around lasers. Like you have to pick up little like laser refractor objects to like make sure a laser goes from point A to point B to open a door, and it gets more and more complicated from there. But like a lot of it is like, you know, the same kind of Portal stuff of like, how do I get this box over onto that switch to open up that door so I can send this laser over there to open up that other door. The one like really kind of more interesting mechanic it has, it doesn't introduce until way later, which is the ability to record your actions and then basically play co-op with yourself. So you hit the switch and now it's recording everything you're doing up to, I think it goes up to 5 minutes, but I've never needed anywhere near that. And then when you go and like hit the switch again, like a ghost of your little robot guy that you're playing as runs around and just does all the same actions you just did, but it exists physically, so you can like kind of, you can't stop it from moving, prevent it from doing what you did, but you can you can, you know, take advantage of that. Like, so in one area there is like you can have a platform over your head and then put a crate on it and then run over to an elevated position that you need to get the crate up to, and then just jump in the air a bunch, and then just run back and like turn it off. And then when you play it back, then you can run up there, and then with your ghost jumping up and down, grab the crate off of there. So you can basically like hand yourself the crate.
Yeah.
And that gets pretty darn complicated.
Yeah.
But it's kind of it's almost like a cross between Portal and The Witness, because it's like you're on a mysterious island and like there's 3 kind of zones. You've got like ancient Greece zone, ancient Egypt zone, and medieval Europe zone, but it's all some kind of simulation. The voice of God is talking to you, but it's clearly like a malfunctioning AI or something. So the puzzles aren't quite as good as The Witness. Like The Witness got a shocking amount of variety out of like that maze that you drew. Like it's one thing that's very impressive about that game is how much gameplay they managed to wring out of that one central premise. And the Talos Principle really doesn't have that like core, you know, gameplay to build everything around, so it doesn't feel quite as cohesive. But on the other hand, it appears to actually have a story, and it's not just like Jonathan Blow, just like philosophical wankery,
blowing himself. Jonathan Blow blowing himself. Yeah.
So yeah, I would really love to like telepod like from the fly, like merge these 2 games together to make one like vastly more interesting than each on their own game. But yeah, you know, I thoroughly enjoyed myself while I played. I kind of started to lose interest as like, you know, these like, it also has a similar structure of like you're going from these like self-contained rooms to do like puzzle A, puzzle B, and your rewards are Tetris pieces. And then there's like doors that are unlocked by like once you have enough Tetris pieces, you do like a Tetris puzzle to make them into a solid block to unlock the door. or to unlock like a new gameplay mechanic. Um, and so you can kind of do things at your own pace from what you've unlocked. You have access to a lot of different puzzles at any given time for the most part. But then there's like kind of the meta puzzles on top of that where sometimes you have to kind of cheat and fight because there's force fields in every puzzle to prevent you from taking objects in or out. Like so these are all the objects that you have access to in this puzzle to solve it. And so you can't take them out to use them on a different puzzle because of that force field. But especially with like the lasers, there's a lot of like, well, what happens if the force field is just a door. So there's like a few like sneaky points where you can shoot the laser like outside of the puzzle and like use that in a meta puzzle or even in a different puzzle. Just have the beam go because it can go through the force field or it can just go over the top of the walls. So some of that's really interesting, but then there's some really like I had to look up a puzzle that I was trying to just brute force because it was about hitting switches with Roman numerals and so completely different, like nothing, no other puzzle in the game had anything like that. And I was like, what the heck is this? And I finally I just looked it up and there's like no way in hell I ever would have got it. It was like there was a clock I didn't know about, and so I didn't even know that the Roman numerals were supposed to be time. And I'm supposed to set a clock based on these switches, and then apparently it's something about the date of the moon landing is
Oh
like the
man.
answer to this. And I'm like, okay, I would have never gotten that far. I'd have gotten frustrated. And it appears that puzzle may be mandatory for actually beating the game. So it's just, I'm not sure I'll finish
It's
it,
got issues.
but
Yeah,
it entertained me.
I'm at the age where if I can't like beat a puzzle like in 2 minutes, I'm like, okay, what's the solution? Where Google Assistant?
Well, for
Show me
me,
how to beat
it's
this.
kind of like if I can sort of see like how but I'm not quite figuring it out, but I have kind of a general idea of what I need to do, versus something like that where like I didn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
Like I totally missed the object with the clock on it that was supposed to kind of give me a hint. Um, and well, yeah, and then also like you can leave messages for other players like Dark Souls, and they're in QR codes, and then there's like
God.
messages from AI characters that are on QR codes, but most of them will just tell you what they say if you look at them. A little box of text pops up to translate it. But like, there's a few like crucial ones for these meta puzzles that involve like that you actually have to get your like QR scanner out on your phone and point it at the TV.
Oh, good
And I'm like,
lord.
come on, you're just adding a step for no reason there just to be obtuse.
What if you don't have a
And all
phone,
you
man?
get, like, for solving that puzzle, all I got was like 1 star, which are kind of like the meta collectibles. That I assumed were just like to get a secret ending or whatever, and like, nope, they appear to be mandatory for actually beating the game, and that was what really kind of turned me off. Is like the whole time I'd been treating these things as kind of like optional extra collectibles, and then like I got far enough, but then I'm like, oh, these are not going to be super optional once I get far enough in this game. So that bummed me out.
And
But
they kind of tell you, they're like, hey, grab this or get
no, it
this.
was kind of like once I got enough of the stars to see what they unlocked, and I was like, oh, what secret thing am I gonna get? And then I realized like I got there, and of course it's just more puzzles because that's how these games work. But then I realized that like these puzzles were going to be mandatory later for like the end game progression, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess the other thing I want to say, like, it's cool that it's a puzzle game by the Serious Sam guys,
Oh yeah.
which explains why there's ancient Egypt in there, and then also there's like ghosts of I don't know if they're supposed to be other players or whatever, but like there's ghosts of other like robots that you just kind of randomly run into periodically, similar to the recording function, but like they just seem to be kind of there. Um, But at one point, one of them runs at you doing the Serious Sam headless suicide bomber guy scream at you. So if you've ever played Serious Sam, you know this sound effect. It's just a guy with two bombs in his hands running at you. And it had the guy running straight towards me as I exited a puzzle, making that sound. And I was like, what? And then, like, the voice of God comes down and is like, don't actually worry about that. We're like, oh, I get it. That's just an Easter egg. Gotcha. Wanted me to remember that you were Crow Team. You made Serious Sam. Gotcha. Check. Got it. So.
Yeah, that's kind of.
If you like puzzles, definitely give it a look. See.
That's kind of the wrap I think I remember when this game first came out. Like kind of a interesting puzzle game, but rough around the edges. Not quite, perfect.
Yeah.
But a couple of design choices maybe mistaken, quote unquote. I didn't know it was the Serious Sam guys though, so I was gonna say like, man, this must be like a brand new team or something like that. But those guys have been making games, but it may not even be the same people that made Serious Sam, right? Those guys are probably long gone.
It's Crow Team, it's the company, so who knows how many people are actually did code on both.
Yeah, I'm guessing not that many. Yeah. All right, okay. And nothing else. Yeah, anything else for us?
No, those are the games I've been playing.
There you go. All right. Well, we will finish the show up just like that. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You can check us out on YouTube. You can just Google Chris Frank Games, and you should be able to find the video. And yeah, keep on spreading the show. Hit the like button. Share the show. That's how we get bigger and bigger.
Lots of videos. Zoom in. Make sure I didn't get any boogers.
That's cool. Well, if it was green screen, so you see the pinball machine. So
suddenly my face turns invisible.
There you go. All right. So for Frank White, my name is Chris Stotts. It's been at Chris Frank Games. We will see you guys later.
Bye.